Cain and Abel, the first murder in human history. Part 1, The Sons of Adam.
After the fall from Eden, the world changed forever. Adam and Eve were no longer surrounded by the perfection of paradise. The ground that once yielded fruit effortlessly now resisted their hands. The air was colder, the nights darker, and life became a struggle. They learned the meaning of labor, pain, and hunger. Yet, even in their exile, there was hope. For life continued. Eve gave birth to a son, and they named him Cain. He was the firstborn of humankind, the first child of the earth. Later she gave birth to another son, Abel. Two brothers, born from the same womb, but destined for different paths. Cain became a man of the soil. He spent his days under the burning sun, turning the earth, sowing seeds, and waiting for the rain. His hands were strong, his body hardened by work. He understood the rhythm of nature, planting, growing, harvesting. His life depended on the generosity of the land. Abel chose a different path. He became a shepherd, guiding his flocks across the fields, caring for every animal with patience and peace. He knew the gentle sounds of the wind, the cry of newborn lambs, and the silence of dawn. While Cain wrestled with the earth, Abel walked with living creatures. They were brothers, and yet their hearts began to grow apart. In the quiet evenings, as the stars covered the sky, Adam would tell his sons about the garden, a place where God once walked among men. Both brothers listened, but in their hearts, they felt differently. One longed to regain what was lost, while the other learned to live with the world as it was. The difference between them would soon change the course of history.
Part 2, The Offering and the Fall.
As the seasons passed, both brothers decided to bring offerings to the Lord, a gesture of gratitude and faith. Cain brought the fruits of his labor, grain, fruits, and the harvest of the ground. Abel brought one of the firstborn lambs of his flock, pure, unblemished, and offered with humility. It was a moment of worship, two brothers presenting their devotion to the same God. But what mattered most was not the gift itself, but the heart that gave it. Abel's offering was accepted, a reflection of his sincerity and trust. Cain's was not. The soil he worked had given him much, yet his heart was filled with bitterness and pride. And when his gift went unacknowledged, something dark began to grow inside him. Jealousy, silent, slow, and deadly. He looked at his brother not as family, but as a rival. What once united them, blood, work, and purpose, began to dissolve. The fire of envy spread within Cain's soul, and the shadow of anger followed. He continued his days as before, planting, harvesting, building, but nothing satisfied him anymore. Every glance toward Abel reminded him of rejection. Every thought of God reminded him of his failure. His heart hardened and his eyes darkened. In the solitude of the fields, resentment became his only companion. And then the inevitable happened. One day, far from the sight of others, the rage that had been building for so long finally consumed him. Cain struck his brother down. The earth, once blessed to give life, now absorbed the blood of the innocent. In a single act, the first murder in human history was committed, not by a stranger but by a brother. The bond that once symbolized unity now became a symbol of tragedy. The silence that followed was heavy and endless. The fields stood still, the wind paused, and the heavens seemed to close their eyes. Cain had taken a life, but in doing so he had destroyed something far greater, his own soul. The act was irreversible. The first death was not natural. It was born from the darkness of the human heart.
Part 3. The Curse and the Consequence.
When the deed was done, Cain was left alone with the weight of his guilt. The world around him did not look the same. The sky seemed lower, the ground colder, and every sound echoed with the memory of his brother's fall. He had thought that ending his jealousy would bring peace, but instead he found only emptiness. The ground beneath him, once the source of his livelihood, became cursed. The soil that had accepted Abel's blood would no longer give him crops. Every attempt to plant, to build, or to rest was met with resistance. It was as if the earth itself rejected him. Cain became a wanderer, moving from place to place, never finding home or peace. He built cities, yet his heart remained desolate. He fathered generations, yet his name carried the weight of his sin. No matter how far he went, the mark of his guilt followed him. It was not only the mark upon his body, but a mark upon humanity itself. A reminder of what happens when envy rules the heart. Through Cain's story, the world learned that sin begins not with an act, but with a thought. It starts in silence, grows in resentment, and ends in destruction. It was not the strength of his arm that killed his brother, but the weakness of his spirit that allowed hatred to grow unchecked. Yet even in this tragedy there was mercy. Cain was not destroyed. He was allowed to live, to carry his burden, to bear the lesson of his own failure. It was a punishment worse than death, to walk forever under the weight of memory. The story of Cain and Abel stands as one of the earliest mirrors of humanity. It reflects the eternal struggle within every person between jealousy and love, pride and humility, vengeance and forgiveness. It shows that God values not the size of the offering, but the purity of intention. It reminds us that what begins as a thought can shape the destiny of generations. From that day, the world would never be the same. The innocence of early humanity was lost. The blood of Abel became a voice that echoed through history, a voice of warning, a call for reflection, and in that echo, the foundation of moral law was laid, that life is sacred, that envy destroys, and that every action has a consequence. Cain and Abel, two brothers, two hearts, two destinies. One followed humility and faith, the other pride and destruction. Their story became the first testament of moral choice and the reminder that even in a world far from Eden, the eyes of God still see every heart.
If God asked you, as he asked Cain,